and created account, Outlook account, right? You guys all have at least one account in there. So what I'm going to do is today is dev.azure.com. This is where I'll go first. And this is the Azure DevOps site that we are talking about. And we'll work through that. Before we actually go into the site, let's talk about some basic concept here, which I want to get you. Okay, so this is kind of like something similar that we saw, right? And so what this tool has is it has something like epic feature, user stories, and so forth. Do you guys know where this thing is used? Epic feature stories, Agile methodology. Are you guys? Do you guys remember the Agile methodology or? Yeah. Okay. Otherwise, I can spend maybe 5 minutes on that. Let me spend 5 minutes, okay, on the Agile side of things. Okay, what we do and what do we have, so that it will help you with the tool, because all the tools are Agile. Okay, when we talk about all the tools. So this is a typical Agile Scrum framework diagram here. And in the Agile methodology, right? So you typically have different roles here. So if one role is a product owner role, right? This guy is more like a who owns the product backlog item, that like a requirements. Okay, so product owner is an important role who can get you the requirement from the business standpoint. Okay, so he's one of the business guy. It could be business guy, but sometimes the business analyst takes on the role of the product owner, depending on the company and so forth. Okay, so that's an important role. The second important role is a team, which is a dev, QA, and could be business analyst, all three. So developers plus QA plus business analyst. That is a team. It's a dev team or team, whatever they call it. Essentially, the team is responsible for delivering all the work within 2 weeks time frame. Okay, so that's a dev team. The third role could be the Scrum Master, which is nothing but more like a project manager type of role, but they call it a Scrum Master. And their job is not to control the delivery type of thing, but if any issues comes in the picture, he will go and manage the issues for the team. Okay, but essentially the team is responsible for delivering their work, working with the product owner. Okay, so those are the three or important roles in the Agile or Scrum framework. Okay, so the requirement wise, so product owner is responsible for maintaining the product backlog items. What is product backlog? These are all the requirements that I want to have it basically implemented in the software. Okay, backlog is nothing but a requirement. So for example, area manager can create RFREP user. That could be one backlog item. Area manager can create what different kind of user. That could be a second backlog item. But it's a running list of all the items. So you usually have like a 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, everything you can dump it as a one backlog item, technically. Okay. So this guy, product owner, keeps on maintaining all the backlog item, work with the business and keep dumping the items in the product backlog. Now remember, you have only 2 weeks or 3 weeks sprints, right? So you can't handle all the product backlog item in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. 2 to 3 weeks sprint. Okay. Because Agile works in a 2 weeks or 3 weeks time frame, what the team does, they will pull the items they can deliver over 2 to 3 weeks. They will say, I can do 2.1 to 2.2 requirement, we can only implement login feature. So they will pull in some of the requirements or some of the stories from the product backlog into the sprint, which is nothing but 2 or 3 weeks, whatever you agreed on. Okay. So they will discuss those items, 2 to whatever items, and they will pull it in and start creating the sprint, working on the task, basically. As soon as they pull it in, it becomes a sprint backlog. Okay, sprint backlog. Within 3 weeks or 2 weeks, this is the only thing we're going to deliver, focus on, nothing else. Those are the only functionality we'll deliver. So that will become a sprint backlog here. And at this point, so once it goes in a sprint backlog, right? So developers will start creating all the development items, coding. You, as a QA, you will also start writing your test cases and so forth, right? While developers is developing. And maybe at the end of the sprint, you have everything and you're going to start executing your test cases as well. Remember, it's a 3 week short cycle. So you have to complete your work, the whole SDLC within 3 weeks for the small chunk of functionality. Okay, so that's where you will have team deliverable, do not change, right? And finally, 3 weeks, end of 3 weeks, you deliver finished work to the user. Okay, so you deliver the work, and typically this backlog item, right? And the product backlog, they are written in the form of epic, feature, and the stories. Okay, so I'll talk about a little bit of what is epic, what is feature, and what is the story here. Okay, so here you finish the work, and then you will start on Monday onwards. You will again go back to the sprint planning. After 3 weeks, your next new sprint starts, and you will repeat the process. Pull in more work, deliver it, and keep on delivering. So
then who decides that small chunk? What is important requirement and what is to be done?
Right. So here, the product owner, right? He works closely with the business. So typically, they prioritize with the business what is the most important for the business. So they will provide some type of high priority items versus low priority. So team will look at only the high priority items, and they will start pulling only high priority items here. Okay. So once they are down to the medium, then let's say they don't, at the end of the sprint, they no longer have high priority items in the backlog. They'll start looking at the medium and so forth. But product owner is typically responsible for identifying that. Okay. Now there is a one term here, like a sprint review, right? End of every sprint, they will demo it to the customer. Hey, this is what we built over the last 3 weeks. And customer says, yep, it looks good. Let's move on to the next one and next one. Or they might say, I think we missed something. Let's go and change something here. Basically, it goes back to the backlog, and they will pull it in the next sprint, the change. Okay, so that's a sprint review. And then finally, you have sprint retrospective, right? Again, this one is, let's say they could not deliver all the work over 3 weeks. So they will look at it, why we could not deliver it, what were maybe that there were some roadblocks and so forth. So the team, it is all about team here in the retrospective. So they will say, let's do something better. Maybe we'll engage customer upfront, get more details around it. So all it focuses on how do we improve in the next sprint so that we can deliver the work more efficiently. That's all it gets. It's a typically like 15 or 30 minutes meeting, and then they move on. Okay. So everybody clear on the Agile here, right? Concept wise. So let me talk about, there are a few terminologies here, right? So I think we already talked about backlog. We talked about sprint and so forth. So let me talk about task. Then I will talk about epic feature and story. Okay, so user story or user story. So let's start with that epic first. So in the requirements document, right? Let me just give you some what you guys have seen so far. So in the requirement document, you have what are the different modules we have in the requirements?
Manage lender.
Okay, so you have manage lender, manage dealer, user, right? These three. Let's talk about three modules. Okay. So what I can do is I need to organize similar way in the tool. Okay. So what I can do is the epic in the when I organize it, right? So this could be my epic 1, this could be my epic 2, this could be my epic 3. Okay, so it's a bigger chunk of functionality. This is where the epic comes in the picture. Okay, so now manage lender might have. So what does the manage lender contains? So let's talk about manage lender. So when you say manage lender, what does it have? So it has a search, right? Add new lender, update lender, those three things, right? So now what you are doing is essentially you are breaking down this big piece of functionality into a smaller chunk. So you can say search feature here. This can be my feature, search feature. This can be my add new lender could be my another feature, update lender could be another feature. Okay, so that would be feature here. I can classify them as feature. Now within search, what are my detailed requirements? Can I search lender by partial name? Can I search lender by full name? All different types of things, right? So all those requirement, detailed requirement 1.1, 1.1, 1.2, they can be part of that. They can be my user stories. Okay, so with user story is nothing but individual piece of requirement, which I can document. Okay, so this can become my user story here. So epic feature and the stories are nothing but the how do we organize things in the tool. That's all those things are. Okay, does it make sense? Okay, so tool will allow you to do that. And there's one important thing here. It's called a storyboard within the tool. So remember where I said here, right? You start pull all the requirements, all the stories that you are working on this 3-week sprint, you pull in within the sprint. Generally, you can storyboard shows all the stories for sprint. All stories and status. So when you pull in the stories, they are new stories. But if somebody starts working on the story, like implementing the development task and so forth, they can move it to the active. Finally, if they are done, they will move it to the resolve. Okay, so that's the storyboard. It talks about the progress of the sprint visually. Okay, and I'll show you what the storyboard looks like in the tool. But that's a conceptually, I think Jira, ALM all have some type of storyboard. Okay, it just looks a little bit different. And so that's the storyboard. And let me talk about the task, what that task is. So let's say we are working on a story called search lender by lender name. Okay. Now, in order to implement that piece of functionality, I might have to create a database task where I can go and search for it, maybe like procedure, some type of code in the database. So I will have a task called database. Then I might have to create a web page, right? So search page And basically, so there are two tasks, two things I have to complete from the development standpoint. Okay. So generally, tasks are focused on development activities. So this one will be done by the developers. So in the sprint planning, they will actually put this task in on the sprint planning day, generally, which is Monday, and they will say, oh, I need a database task in order to implement this story. I need a search page, and I need to code something else. So they will create 2 or 3 tasks for the developers. And depending on whoever wants to get it done, they will assign themselves and start working on it. Okay. But QAs typically don't have any say on the task. All right. Does it make sense? This terminology, okay? This is terminology. Now we can see in the tool how the things looks like and what you should be doing. Any question, anybody? All right. If no question, let's work with the tool. So this is I was talking about earlier, right? So you have Epic here. You have feature, then you have user stories, and the story will include tasks which developers can implement, and so forth. Okay, Epic, feature, story. And product backlog is typically user stories, but you can organize in the Epic and feature method as well. All right. Okay, great. So let's come back here now and see how we can, what we need to do and so forth. So in the tool, right? So obviously dev.azure.com, right? Dev.azure.com. This is where you need to go. And since you are accessing for first time, you have to click on Start Free. Okay. So here, and then whatever account you created, hopefully you guys remember that, but let me see, Intelix QA 2021 at outlook.com. So I'm using this account. Then next, I'm going to log in. It will ask you to fill out certain information, right? Where you are and so forth, which is okay. And you have to agree on all the conditions, okay? There is a by default. You guys know how it works, right? Otherwise, it won't let you in. Okay, so you will end up on a screen something like this. Now, generally, this one will be set up for you in the organizations. Somebody will already just grant you access, and you will have access to the projects you are working on. But here, since you guys are not, you are accessing for first time and so forth, you have to set up a project. First thing you have to do is project name. So here I'm going to do project name as an rflown, right? And I'll make it public. So what this public is and private is, so public, anybody can access on the internet. So make sure you select public. And why? There is a reason for it. Let's say you want to share something with your team member. You just give them a URL for the project, and they can see what things you are putting together and so forth. So you can share it easily. Plus, you guys will always send me URL, and I'm going to be your best buddy so that I can see what you guys are working on. Okay, if you guys are really working on it, we're going to take a look at it, your progress. Okay. All right, so make sure you select public. All right, and then create project. I think I forgot one thing. So let me come back. Okay, so I'm going to do a new project at this time. rflown. It says already exists. So what I can do is rflown plus. Okay, and I'll say public. Forgot to show you one thing, advanced. Okay, here it's advanced. And the work item progress. So version control is like what is the source code? It's mainly for the developers. So you leave it default for yourself. but I want you guys to select something different here. Right now it's a basic, but select Scrum. Okay, because we are following the epic feature, the user story. It's kind of like the same way what we do at work. So I want to make sure you get comfortable with that. So select Scrum here and then click on create. Okay, it might take maybe a minute. Okay, so my project is created. It's empty. Nothing is there right now. Now, first thing what we can do is let's check the board, Scrum Board, right? I talked about the Scrum Board, storyboard. So here I click on hover over board and come on the boards. Okay, and you can see it right now. It's an empty board. This is because we don't have any backlog item or any stories we pulled in. So this is the empty board. But as you can see it here, right? It's a new. So any story you create, it will be in the new status. Then you have approved, committed, done. Done meaning I implemented everything and I'm good with that. Okay. So you can create a story right from here. A story is nothing but requirement, right? This is what we wanna. Now, generally in the real life, who will create the stories for you? Will you guys create stories? Business analyst or product owner, right? One of the few those people will already have something ready for you. But see here we have empty project, so let's do one thing. So new item and product backlog item. This is the story. So let's say lender, search lender by lender name, right? Full lender name. Let me just put lender name, right? Okay, let's see just lender name. Okay, so that's my one story. So whatever stories you are working on, make sure you go and add the stories. Okay, or wherever you have test cases, you just go and add the story first, and then you associate the test case with that. Okay, so let's see. I'm gonna use a simple one. Site administrator can access our flow and securely. I'm just going to use one story here, smaller story. Now, let's say you made a mistake, right? So you click on the link here. So it becomes a link. You click there and it will open up. You can say user can access site flow site securely. So now I corrected my story here. This is what the story will look like. These are nothing but the requirements, right? You will have what sprint it is assigned, right? If it's a sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3, you can pull it into, change it here. So by default, I think you get one sprint, okay? Then you can configure the other sprints and so forth. I guess we already have 6 sprints configured here, okay? But you can pull in the stories. So if I, let's see here, generally you will have acceptance criteria written down here. An acceptance criteria could say, as a site administrator, I can access my home page securely, something like that. Okay, that will be first criteria. Now the user can be anybody, right? So then you have as a dealer user, I can access dealer functionality securely. So this can be my second acceptance criteria as part of this requirement. Okay, so I can have all other users listed here as well. So I'm going to have only 2 here for now. You could have basically any attachment and so forth. So if the requirement user story gets too big, maybe they want to provide screenshots and something, you can put it as an attachment and attach to the story. So you have everything in one place to go for the requirement. Okay, that's how typically it is. So for now, our purpose, we'll just keep it simple, 1 line, 2 lines, and we are good. Okay. Now, what do I need to do? as a QA, right? So QA, you're supposed to write your test cases tied to the story. That's what your tasks are. So here, these 3 dots, this is where it will allow you to create the task. Now tasks are done by the developers, right? But the test is the one the QA owns it. So you as a QA, you will go and create a test here. Okay. Let me just show you task quickly because this is done by the developers, right? So I'm going to show you task first. So at task, create a component for secure access. Okay, secure web access. So that's the one task. Task is a different color here. Okay, then create a database table for users, user access or users.
Am I writing this for the programmer?
No, you are not. But if I'm a programmer, I'm going to create my task like that, tied to the story right there. But you are a QA, right? So different people will work on the story, right? But they will do different things. So I'm just showing you here. You don't have to create here. But just in case if somebody asks you what is the task and how do you go about it, you can say it's done for the developers, but they will associate with the story right there. Okay, so that's the task. And as soon as it will add this symbol, right? It says there are 2 tasks associated here with the story. Now, let's say I'm a QA and I will create my test case. So I'll create a test case here. So here, can access the site securely, right? Here, I can have one test case, site administrator can access their homepage via secure credentials. Okay, this is what your test case is. Same way, you can have dealer can access their homepage via secure, providing valid username and password. This is my second test case, something like that, right? Now, this is just a title. Remember, your title, your summary, and so forth. So all you are saying here is a title. Now, where do I go and fill out the details, right? So that's where you click on the link, and it will pop up another page, right? And here are your detail steps. So let me pull up the existing one here that I have, or Dilip created, I guess, earlier. Let me see if I can pull that up here quickly. Okay, so this is my test case. So valid site administrator login, right? You can simply cut and paste into your test case here. So let's come back. This is what I can do it here, right? This is my title. Then what I have is, okay, precondition, right? Site administrator account exists in the system with the user ID and password specified in the data section. Okay, so what I can do is I can copy that, right? And now the tool does not have a precondition specifically where you can put the preconditions. Okay, I think Jira does not have it, ALM does not have it, and Azure DevOps does not have it. Okay, where you can put your precondition. But what we typically do is precondition. You can either put it here in the steps. Let me summary. So there are different tabs here: steps, summary. So you can put it in here as a precondition. Okay, you can do like that, or I can put it in the steps itself. Okay, so within the steps, these are your steps sections here. So it says click or type here to add a step, right? So what I can do is I can just put a precondition, copy paste. Okay, and I can just leave it as my first step in the steps. So that anybody who is executing the test case, they will see, oh, this is a precondition here. What happens is if you put it in the summary, then it does not say what is your precondition. You have to actually open the test case and understand. But if you put it like that, all the steps will be shown when you are executing it. Okay, so it will show first step as a precondition, this thing. And what you can do is put the username and password right here. Okay, because there is no separate data section either. So you can just put everything here as specified in the data section. Instead of that, as training and training password. Okay, so I can just create my precondition, something like this. All right, so once I do that, I'm good with the precondition. Typically, precondition does not have expected result. Okay, we don't have it. So from here, now summary, right? We are down to the summary. So let me copy paste summary in the summary section. So this is what I can do here in the summary section. Okay. This test case validates that valid user ID and password. Site administrator can log in successfully into the system. Just a summary. What the test case is about. Summary. Okay. Then I'll flip back to the steps. And my steps are here. Simple steps in the browser. I'll copy paste it. Okay, so that's my first step here. Go to the Airflow using the URL. Again, you can put the URL right here. You don't have to worry about anything else. Okay, and the expected result will go in here. In the expected result. Okay, so that's my first step. So if you have copy paste, I mean, if you already have created something, it's going to be very quicker. Otherwise, you might have to type everything in. Okay, enter validated username and password. User is successfully logged in. And at this point, I'm done with my test case. Now, here, right, all you are doing is entering what you created earlier and dumping the data into the tool. That's all the tool does. Okay. Main work, as I said, I mean, while 3 months you are developing, that's where your brain, you have to use your brain and come up with the test cases, scenarios, and so forth. That's what the core work is for you. Tool, you are just documenting the test cases. That's it. There is nothing else is happening. Okay. So at this point, I'm done with my first test case, and I'm going to save and close. And it will take me back here, right? So now it shows like 2 tasks, and I have 2 test cases here. Remember, I created a 2 test case here, right, with the title. This is my first one, where I put the details here, and the second one I don't have any detail, but I can again go put all the steps and so forth and work through that. Okay. Any question here? This one, right? You can expand, collapse the test window. Same thing. This one you can click on it, expand, collapse. It's no brainer. So get familiar with the tool when you get access, and so forth. Any questions so far? Yeah.
So the blue dots that you have, that will consist positive and negative cases attached to that requirement.
Yeah, so all the test case, right? Any test case that you have for validating that requirement, you have to create it as an add test. So let's say
for the
site administrator, so let's say negative test, right? admin cannot access homepage with invalid credential. Right? So this could be my one negative test case. Again, similar thing, site admin shall see an error when not supplying any credit, while not supplying any, or logging with empty credentials. Okay, so this can be another negative test case. But you have to fill out all the steps for individually, and then you execute basically one by one when you have some of the things ready. Okay, I'm going to hold off on executing right now. Let's work through at least few, maybe enter a couple of test cases yourself, and then I'll show you how do we execute the test case and work through that. Okay, any question on this one so far?
So everyone is working simultaneously, business analyst, developer, and tester.
Yep, that is correct. And see, it's easy, right? This is a storyboard. So all you have to do, let's say somebody starts working on it, I can say approved here, or this could be active. Okay, you can configure all these different things. What is the status here? So it can be active, completed, and done, something like that. So once you are done, you can move the story here. What it says is done, meaning, hey, I completed all the development tasks and QA to all tests passed. Okay, that's what the definition of the done is generally. So and then it's ready to be released to the UAT, something like that after this. Or you can have a what status, the UAT status here. You can completely configure this Scrum Board with all different kind of statuses that your team agrees on. Okay, so that's how you move. So that everybody who goes to the board, they'll say, oh, this story is completed. These are the 2 ones in progress and so forth. I like that. Okay. Yeah, but everybody is working. So remember, I told you the guy in India, if they are there, they'll just log into the board. They'll say which stories are ready for me to execute, and I'm just going to start executing the test cases for that. Nobody, it doesn't matter. This is accessible all on internet, so it's all good. So that's the power of collaboration, and the team can be distributed anywhere and so forth. Okay. All right, so what I want you to do is, for now, pick a couple of requirements, okay, and pick whatever test cases you created, okay? Pick those 2 requirements, and let's say enter them here, 2 test cases, and I'll get you roughly about 45 minutes to work through that. And then I will come back and work through how do we execute it, where do we create defects, how do we go about it. Okay, so it's 10:32 right now, so we'll go till like 11:15. Okay, and then we'll work on the second part. So a few more tricks and bugs and defect tracking. So what I want to cover is let's talk about the test case, right? Since you guys had a chance to at least create a couple of them. So in the test case, I think most common questions that I heard was where does the precondition and post-condition go, right? So precondition, I think you can just put it in as a first step, right? Precondition, and the post-condition, if you have it, you can just put it in as a last step over there, okay? So this is, if you don't have precondition, you don't need to put it, and you can remove it. By the way, hopefully you guys played around with some of the menu items, right? So that where you can do the delete step and so forth. So this is something you can play around for removing the step and those things. Now let me show you one more thing here, which is very helpful. So here, there are 3 different icons here, right? So first one is saying insert step. So you can do, let's say you forgot to insert step. You can say insert step, it will insert right there, kind of like empty, so that you can type it. Okay. So I'm going to get rid of that. The second item it says insert shared step. This is very helpful. Okay, shared step. So imagine all your test cases, right? You have this precondition, site administrator account exists. Now every test case you're gonna type it in right now. If you have 4 test cases associated with the requirement, and that is the same precondition, you have to type it in 4 times. So instead of that, what you can do is you can create a shared step, okay? And then you can insert into whichever test case has the same precondition, you can just put it in, insert the step. So let me show you how do we go about it. So I have this precondition, and what I can do is like this third icon, it says create shared step. Okay, so I'm just going to click on that, and it will ask me what is the name. I'll say precondition for site admin login. Okay, so this is a precondition for site admin login. So I'm just going to name it something so that I can find out from the wherever I am inserting, I can figure out what it is. At this point, I was going to say, so now you can see it changed something to this one, shared step. Okay. Now, if you have expected result and so forth, you can, when you execute, it will automatically pull up the details and you can see, right? So at this point, I'm going to save this one. And let's say I have a second one. It needs the same precondition. So all I have to do is say insert shared step. And I can see if I have, it will pop up this box and then I run a query. It will pull up all the steps. So I will just select it. Okay, so I'll select this one and say insert shared step. It will automatically insert it. So the power is it's good. If you have made any change in the future, you just go and update this one. It will be updated every day. Okay, so it's more of a programming concept as well. So that's a very helpful feature. So when you get a chance, play around with that. The one most helpful feature will be here. Okay, I think you guys will have to use this a lot. So you see the 3 dots on the right corner. So I'll click on that. And then I'll say create a copy of a work item. Okay, it says a create copy of work item. So what it will do is it will copy your test case and dump out everything and make a copy. So if you have similar test cases, positive, negative, you just create a copy of the work item and just keep on creating it instead of rewriting everything from scratch, including your test data and all those things. So here I can say create copy, and then it will say which test case you want to create it. Basically, it's a test case or not, which project. Then you can check include existing links, include existing attachments, child work items, and so forth. Okay. So generally, existing attachments, if you have it as attachments, any attachment, it will copy it for you. Okay. Existing links meaning who is a parent, so it will automatically create the relationship with the user story and so forth. Okay. So let me go ahead and do that. So here now I have another test case, and here I can change it whatever I want. Login with the invalid site credential login, right? So I just have to modify a few things. My precondition is there, login is there, and enter the username password, and whatever test training, and put a wrong password in the login, and then change your expected result. It will speed up the process a lot. Okay, specifically for the similar test cases, you can create this copy paste type of thing, and work through that. So at this point, I just created another test case. And now I have 5 instead of 4. Another one is added here at the bottom. Okay. So that's going to be very helpful in the real life for you guys as well. Okay. So any questions so far? I think these are play around, okay? When you get a chance, just play around with this thing. So assume you have created all the test cases and now you're going to execute, you have to validate the requirement, execution phase, testing phase, right? So how you will come back to the board and then you will start executing all the test cases. Now, when I say executing, right, it's still a manual process. Okay, there is no automation here. You are manually clicking the link and executing. Now, how do you execute? So this is where you have to come here. You will see 3 dots and say run test. Okay. Again, it's a still manual process. So it will pop up with this dialog box. And as you can see, right, you have to follow your own steps. Okay, what you have for your own steps. So here, I'm going to, I have a precondition. See, it automatically pulled up the details for the precondition here. Exists using the similar thing, right? And so I have S training and training exists. So I'm going to say, yep, this precondition is good. So move on to the next step. Go to the type in the URL and browser should display, right? So I'll go and open the Chrome here or whatever browser you want to open. Now, what does it mean, right? When you say execute, so you're gonna compare the actual result with the expected result, and then you will say pass or fail based on that. Okay, that's the standard process for this thing. Okay, so I'm just typing the URL, and now okay, I'm on the home page. Okay, so I can access the home page. I'm going to pass my second step. Okay. Now enter user IDs, passwords specified in the data section. Now, as you can see, right, if your test data right here, then it will show up here. Otherwise, you have to look into, okay, what is my test data and so forth. Okay, so here in this tab, I don't have test data. So I need to figure out where it is. And so sometimes you have to go back and correct your step. Make sure you put the test data right in the step in the tool. So let's say I have this test data, which is test training and training, and log in. Okay. So it will let me log in, hopefully, if the user ID password is correct. And let's see. Okay. So I'm logged in and I'm on my home page. And at this point, I'm going to say, yep, it passed. Everything is good. So what I can do is I can say this test case is passed as well by selecting this thing at the top. Okay, get familiar with it. This is where you're going to see some differences, okay, within the tool. Jira versus ALM versus DevOps.
This is what we do. We have to run the test also.
Yes, this is what you have to do once you document it, right? This would be the next step. Once you have software, then you will start executing your test cases and validating against the test case that you document for the requirement, right? This is how you can validate software is working properly. Okay. So here I'm going to pass it and close out the window. Okay. And hopefully I can see the result being reflected here. Now it says green here. So this one passed. Other ones are not executed yet, right? And so forth. Now, when it comes to the regression, think about how many you have to go back in and you have to execute everything, all 5, if you change this requirement slightly. Okay, so that's what the regression is. But let me run it again. And let's say this time, when we are running second time, our precondition passes, and this time something fails. Okay. So I'm going to mark it as a failed test case. And I'm going to enter some comment. And I'll say instead of site admin homepage, I saw dealer homepage. Okay. What is wrong with it? Why are you failing? Make sure you capture that here. Okay. The dealer homepage is displayed. Not so, but dealer homepage is display. Okay. So this is one thing you can do. Okay. And second thing important is the screenshot. What you actually saw. Because sometimes developers, when they log in and they see the site admin homepage with the whatever credentials they have, they think, oh, your bug is invalid. So you probably want to put a screenshot of what you are seeing. Okay. So what I mean by that is take a screenshot of this thing and attach with that thing.
So the way virtual, you can just open up the defect from the top.
Yep.
That's what they do.
Yeah. So you put it here, right? Now you can create a defect right from the top here. Okay. So it will put all the details that you captured here. Okay. So it will come here. So now you will have the details page and it will say here, right? Enter user ID and your comments will be here. Instead of site admin homepage, it's there. And now let's see it here. There is attachment here. You can put it in the attachment, or you can put it in this details here. But the way you can do it is there is a tool called snipping. I think you are familiar with it, some of you. If not, if you are using Windows, you have this tool available. On the Mac, you can use anything that's available on the Mac. Okay. So here I can take a screenshot of this thing. I can really highlight this part, copy it, and then I come back to my bug, and I can just put it at the end here. So it will attach the screenshot right there. Okay. And then it will ask you to put a title for the bug. Okay. So you have to enter let me make sure.
Yeah, no, the title is at the bottom.
Oh yeah, here. Sometimes I get lost as well. Okay, so incorrect homepage is displayed for site admin. Make sure you put some meaningful what is the issue there, some type of thing. Okay. So at this point, I'm done with the bug.
No,
Let me talk about a couple of things here. The state will be new, right? But you can also put
on the right side of the details, there is a severity.
yep. So priority and severity, right? So here you can change the severity to high, medium, and low. So if it's a cosmetic thing, you probably want to leave it as low. But if you can't, if it's the system, you are seeing the yellow page or something is broken, you want to make it as high or critical. Okay. But otherwise, incorrect homepage, I would mark it as a high because it's a wrong functionality as well. It's not critical, but it's a high so that developer can fix it quickly. And the medium is depending on the functionality you are doing. You can select medium. And the priority can be 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, companies can configure it. Priority as well and severity. Generally, most likely you will end up using the severity level mainly. Okay. Now, if you have multiple screenshots and so forth, again, just like a defect, just like the test case, you can attach it right from the additional files here. You can put more details and so forth. Okay, related to bug. And one last thing, right now it's an unassigned bug. So you can assign to the developer if you want, or assign to the maybe QA lead generally, and they will assign the defect to the developers. Okay, so right now I have only one user in my project, so I don't see anybody else. But if you typically you have 4 or 5 different developers and so forth, so you can pick and choose where the bug will go, or who should be working on that bug. So right now I'm just assigning to myself. Okay. So let's come back to the detail. Let me see what else is there. And most likely what will happen is, so once you assign it, right, the developer can put a comment. And if they need more information, they can put a more comment here and you will get a notification who really created it. And then you can add back more comment as well. So it's more like a collaboration as well. Okay. for some of these things. So I need more info before we can work through. Info on the login username and password. Okay, so I can save it. So it will be captured here, right? And then you as a QA provide, okay, this is the username password I was using and so forth. So everything email generally in the real life, not here, but in the real life, it will show up email at that point.
So one other thing, just to remember, as you're putting this information, remember I said that there is a defect reports that gets generated. Those all get generated from this data that you put in.
Yep, that's correct. Okay, so at this point, I'm done with the bug, and I'll say save and close my test case. This is the run, right? This is what I was running. So I'll say save and close, and I'll close out anything that's open. Now here I can see it's failed, right? This meaning this requirement, one of the bug is failed. I can refresh it. And I can see start seeing the bug on the dashboard here as well. Okay. But again, if I go back to the test case, it says this one is failed and so forth. Okay. And I can always go back and open more defects here. Open more, I add more details any point if you need. Okay. So now who is available from the development side, they will take the bug, let's take it to the same life cycle and put it in done and assign back to you so that you have to retest at that point. Okay. Any questions so far? It's a pretty standard process, but I think you guys, since you guys are seeing for the first time, or once you go through one or two, I think it should be good. Now, one more thing. So right now we are in the board view, but you can always go to the backlog. Okay, and you can see all those things as just whatever stories, whatever bugs are outstanding, you can see it in the backlog too. Okay, same thing, but just a different view. Okay, so you can open the bug from here and work through that. Or if you prefer dashboard board view, then just go to the board and work it. Okay, I like board view because that's more organized for me. All right, any question? What is the question? That's what I'm saying. Any question? Then what's your question? Yeah, but process-wise, right? SDLC, we are following SDLC. So going back to the SDLC thing, right? See if I can go back here. So remember where we started here, right? So we were in the analysis phase and so forth. But at that time, so from the analysis, we went to the design. So you have requirement system design. Then you guys wrote the test cases. Here you are executing. This is where your defect management process comes in. But now you are just using the tools to work through the defect management and execution. And after that, your role is done, right? Pretty much then other than supporting the users and so forth. So anything specific, if you want to know, then we can certainly talk about it. Or what are the things that that you guys need to. Yeah.
So when I created the test case, and I'm assuming that two credit applications are already existing in the system. So I'm creating
Okay.
and I gave the name of the two credit application. That is the hypothetical.
Yes.
But here, when we are trying to test, we should give the actual IDs.
You can put the actual IDs as well, so if you have steps within creation step, right, within your test case, then you should be able to note down the IDs. Yeah. So just put an instruction that, hey, capture that ID and now validate that this lender can access this application. Yeah, kind of like that. So you have to organize your test data a little bit in that way. Okay. Any other question? All right. So once you guys get familiar with this tool, then other tools are no brainer. Okay, they will work exactly same way. Tools are tools. There is not much brain around. Okay, like you saw it. It's just where you go document it and where you do the things. Main work is, again, I go back to the last week we spent. That's where your main work is. Okay. So let's work through the additional things then. I don't have anything else to cover on the tool side. I'll send you a couple of video links if you want to get to know other functionality like repository, developer side of things a little bit, what they do and so forth. I'll send you a few videos, which you can watch in there. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a defect. I will make sure you can execute it. Whatever test case you created and work through it. Yeah.
Can you show me one more time, how did you go to that verification window to go step by step?
Verification, right? So individual test case has 3 dots.
Okay.
So you just click on these 3 dots and say run test. Now here, sometimes what it will do is you may not see this window because of the pop-up blocker on your computer. So make sure you click on this, add this page to whatever, or there will be like a pop-up blocker type of icon here. So you click on it and allow to for pop-ups. Okay. But if you run into issues, let me know, and I'll show you guys how to allow that. Okay. All right, so I'll let you guys work through. We'll go till like 12:30 or 12:45 and see if you have any other question. I'll show you again in that case.